So, we want to review hip rafter decrease calculations. I realize this quiz steps back a little bit. But let's start out with that. So if we start out with, and I'm only going to do the more difficult cases here. So let's say we've got a case here where we have, this is a 612 slope on the main roof. We're going to give this a 38-foot span. And my setback here is going to be 9.5 feet for my setback. When we look at any of these, we have the same steps. This has some extra steps because we got to find some, the difference is going to be the length of the jack rafter, the longest jack. But no matter what, we always start with the common rafter. Our common rafter is going to be the 38-foot span. And the 612 slope. And the first thing I want to find about the common rafter is the height. The second thing I'm going to find is the length of the common rafter. So to find the height, that's right there, that's the height. And that comes down in the middle of that. How do I find the height here? 12 equals? H over 19, good. The run is 19 feet, half the span. So if I cross multiply and divide there, 6 times 19 divided by 12, okay, the height is 9.5 feet. Now I don't need to convert that into feet and inches because all I'm going to do is use that to find the length of the common rafter. Right here. How do I find that length? Perfect. 19 squared plus 9.5 squared, and then we take the square root of that. It's 21.243. Now back to the original drawing, what does that represent? That represents this right here. 21.243 feet. The length of my common rafter. The next step is generally defined length of the longest jack. Longest jack would be this one over here. If the slopes are the same, what do I know about the length of the longest jack? Same as the length of the common. Here, how do I know that the slopes are different? Now, the setback is not half of the span. Half of 38 would be 19. If the slopes were the same, this setback would have to be 19. It's not. So I know the slopes are different. So to find the length of the longest jack, that's just a right triangle like that. And what I know about it is I know the setback, 9.5, that's the bottom of it. And the height is the same as the common rafter up here. It's also 9.5. To find the length of that jack, what do I have to do? Square root of 9.5 squared plus 9.5 squared, square root. 13.435. This here is 13.435 feet. Now that we have those, we can find the length of the next longest jack on either side. Again, if the slopes were the same, it would be the same decrease. We don't have to do it once. But since they're not the same, we have to do both. So the next longest jack. Of course, after the next longest jack, we're going to find the decrease. Now let's start out with the next longest jack on the hip roof side. On the hip roof side, we have this triangle created by the longest jack there. $13.435. This here is 19 feet. Where did the 19 come from? 38. Next jack is going to be at what distance here?
17.
17. We subtract 2. So I'll call that x for now, that other length. X and 17. How do I find x?
Multiply by 17.
Well, I'm going to set up my proportion, which is going to be what?
19. That's 17.
Okay, so I can set it up either way. I can either do the 13.435 over 19, or I can do the 13.435 over x. It'll work either way. Then you got to have the 17 going with the 19. That's what I got to do here. So this will work. So I cross multiply and divide. 13.435 times 17 divided by 19 is 12.021. So then the next step, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the main roof side later, but I'm going to finish off this here. The next step then is to find decrease is the longest jack, 0.435, minus the next longest jack, 12.021. Right there, we've got 1.414 feet. But trust that you can change that into feet inches. Now we have to do the same thing for the main roof side. Main roof side, we have this triangle right here, 21.243. .5, that's just our setback. Next triangle here, I'll call this Y. What do I know about this? 5, just 2 feet less than the 9 point. 5 and Y. How do I set up that proportion? .243 over what?
9.5.
I can either go over Y or 9.5, it doesn't matter. On the other side, then it'll be Y over 7.5. Either way, 21.243 times 7.5 divided by 9.5. You're at 16.771. Decrease is going to be the 21.43 minus the 16.771. So 4.472 feet. Now you'll notice that is not the answer to either of the questions on the quiz, but very, very similar to problem number 2 on the quiz. You've already turned in that quiz. That is quiz number quiz 2-4. You've already turned that one in. You can redo it and turn it in again. That will completely regrade it. You might not be able to submit it in Blackboard. You may have to email it to me if it's a second submission. But I will regrade it for you. That's pretty common. If we have a valley, again, I'm going to try to keep this fairly simple, but do the more difficult of the two problems. Similar to the more difficult of the two. But here, I'm going to do this here as a span of 40 feet. This over here, a span of 20 feet. What hurts? This is a 612 slope up here.
Here, what? That's the exact same.
So, once again, we start out with the common rafter. But there's a common rafter on either side, so we're going to do the main roof common rafter first. Foot span. So again, the first thing we have to find to do that is the height. You're still drawing the picture for a second.
When you take the 20. Like when we split that in half.
Yep, it's going to be 20 here. What's our proportion going to be here?
612, 712.
Perfect. So we cross multiply and divide here. We get the H is H is 10 feet. Next, we have to find the length of that common rafter by doing what?
10 squared plus 20 squared.
Squared plus 20 squared, perfect. $22.361. This is 22.361 feet. Now, instead of finding the hip jack or the longest hip jack here, we have to find the L roof common. Takes the place of finding the longest hip jack. L roof common is going to be up here. I know that this has a span of 20 feet. What else do I know about it?
612.
Don't know a 612 slope.
The height.
I know the height. If the peaks match here, that height has to be the same. It has to be 10 foot high. Nope, because the spans are different. Since the peaks match, they cannot be the same slope. If the peaks match, the slope, the spans have to be the same for it to be the same slope. So to find our length of our common here,
10 square.
and perfect. There's 14.142. This is 14.142 feet. Now, just like with the hip rafters, the next step is to find the next longest jack. So we're going to work on either side, the main roof or the L roof. Started with the hip roof before, so let's do the L roof first here to be consistent. On the L roof, we have this triangle here, 14.142. What's this distance? Half of our 40-foot span, right? Which means the next one would be at a distance of, call that 18x. What proportion going to be? 14.142 over 20 equals
418.
x over 18. Good. So we'll cross multiply and divide here. 14.142 times 18 divided by 20 gives us 12.2 or 728. So then we find our difference, our decrease. Common rafter, 14.142, minus that next jack of 12.72. From the wet arm. .414. Next, we're going to do the main roof side. On the main roof side, we're going to use the 22.361. What's this distance up here? 10 feet, half of the 20-foot span. So when I do the next one here, 8, call that y so I don't reuse my variable. .361 over 10 equals y over 8. So we take our 22.361 times 8 divided by 10 gives us 17.889. So then my decrease is the 22.361, 17.889. Giving us 4.472 feet is our decrease there. What do you think? Is that any better than it was last week? Better than a sharp stick in the eye?
Yeah, better.
Anybody have any questions on hips and valleys?
So, yeah, so like the quiz and stuff, they only ask for like the one decrease. Like if
No,
it's
on the
like
quiz, if it has two different decreases, you give them both.
if it's just asking for one, then you give them like.
Well, like on that quiz, for problem number 1, there's only one decrease because they're both the same. But for 2 and 4, there's different slopes, so you do have to give both decrease. Okay, so then the next thing I want to go over. Next thing. 11, half of those are right off the packet. Quiz 211, if you did the packet, about half of them are straight out of the packet for you. That's kind of my 6th sense of humor. For quiz 211, let's take a look at something similar to it. Let's do a common truss here. And let's do one where I'm giving you the slope is 40 feet. I'm going to give you the height here is 10 feet. And at 40 feet, I want to find the slope. And I want to find the length of the common rafter. Find the slope. That's going to be P over 12, right?
Yep.
Whatever it is. What's the rise going to be? My truss. 10. My run. 20. I can cross, multiply, and divide 10 times 20, or 10 times 12 divided by 20, 6. That is a 6/12 slope. To find the length of my common rafter here, that height is 10 feet, that run is 20 feet. Length of the common rafter, J is just what? How do I find it?
Well,
Get rid of
22.36.
perfect. 10 squared plus 20 squared is 22.361 feet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off the 22. That's 22 feet. Back to 22. What do I do to the 0.361? 12 gives me 4 inches. Take off the 4, leaving with the 0.332. What do I do with that? 16. 5.3, so it's going to be 5 16ths. 22 feet, 4 and 5 16ths. Now, that is not on the quiz, but it's very similar to one. That was even nice to you on the attic trusses. I didn't put any heel heights on. That must have not been feeling well when I made it. That would be nice for me. So we got 48 feet here. Let's do 16-foot height. I'm asking to find the slope. Wall height, if this is a 12-foot ceiling. Actually, no, let's not go 12 foot. Let's be a little more realistic. Let's do 20-foot ceiling. And again, I'll ask you to find the length of that common top chord back there. And I'll have you find this length here, little x. Probably the easiest to find here right now is x. How would I find x?
I think it's 20 minus
40 minus the 20, 48 minus the 20, and divide by 2. So what is that, 14 feet? X. Next thing I would have to find, actually I could find J if I wanted to. How do I find J here? Plus 28.844. Feet. And what? Times 12 is 10.13, so it's correct the 10. And then
16.
2.12 is going to be 2 or 1/8. 2/16 or 1/8. 28 feet, 10 and 1/8 inches. That's two of the things. We've got X, Y.
I need W.
Well, to find W, I kind of need P first.
Oh, I didn't see.
P is going to be P over 12. It's going to equal, what other ratio there? Rise of 16. 16 over 24. So cross multiply and divide. P equals 8. This is an 8 12 slope. Now to find W, I've got 8 12 slope equals W over 14. 8 times 14 divided by 12 is, what is that, 9.6 feet? 9 feet, 7, and times 14. 9.33 feet. I screwed that up. .3333 feet. So that's 9 feet, 4 inches. Not so bad? I just feel the enthusiasm.
I was doing that other one on 2.4, and you said you always round up on your steps,
Yep.
and you all of a sudden you gotta round back down.
Round down for what?
The trusses, no, nothing. The
Treads?
treads.
Well, there's always one less tread than there is rise. Because you got to rise at the top and bottom. So there's always one less tread than there is rise. Oh, let's see here. Let's do this at 44 feet. I want to find
What's that?
H, X, and Y. Starting off, what do I know about these variables? What's the easy part that I know? X plus Y equals
44.
44. Can I get more information, or how do I get more information on X? X, this is H.
Figure out what H is.
5/12 slope. So I know that 5 over 12 equals what here? For X. Now I'm going to cross multiply. 12 times H is 12H. 5 times X is 5X. Now I want to solve for X. How am I going to solve for X? 5 by 5. Remember, we solve for whatever is not H, right? So that's X equals 12 divided by 5 is 2.4, so that's 2.4H. X is 2.4H. Back up here, we got this triangle right here that we're going to work with. y, this is h, it's a slope of 15, 12. 12 is y. Or this for now.
Okay.
Just use the triangle here. This describes this triangle, not this one over here.
So I'm just taking the H.
Oh, so it's just h over y, right? So now we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. All of h equals 15y, you're correct. And then we're going to solve for which variable here? Y. Divide by 15. 12 divided by 15 is 0.8. 0.8h equals y. So up here, x is 2.4h, y is 0.8h, 4. Now we're only on one variable. What do we do to solve that? Fine, what's 2.4h plus 0.8h? 0.2h. And h 0.4 divided by 3.2. So h in feet and inches would be how much? Curves of a foot is 9 inches, right? How do I find x and y? Okay, so I've got the 13.75 for h. Put it in here. 2.4 times 13.75 equals x. 0.4 times 13.75. 33. 33 feet. How about over here for y?
So 8 times.
0.8 times 13.75 equals y, giving me y is 11 feet. That isn't exciting enough to keep you awake. So those quizzes are out there on Blackboard for you. Download them and give them back to me when you can. The last topic we covered on Thursday, variation. Biggest thing with direct variation, if one variable gets larger, the other variable has to get larger. Inverse variation, one variable gets larger, the other one has to get smaller. So, if I have y equals 7x, if x gets bigger, does y get bigger or smaller? Bigger. X gets bigger, y gets bigger, that is correct. X times y equals 15. Here, if x gets bigger, what does y do? Let's say if x is 3, what's y? 5. If x goes up to 5, what happens to y? So x gets bigger, y gets smaller. This is inverse. Have y equals 24 over x. Pick any number that divides into 24. 6. So if x is 6, y would have to be what? 4. 4. Pick any other number that divides into 24.
8,
8. If x is 8, y would have to be
3.
3. X got bigger, what happened to y?
Got smaller.
Got smaller, so this is
Inverse.
inverse. Make sense?
Do now.
Now I'm gonna give you one hint. When you give you the quiz, there's gonna be one that looks like this. Y equals 2xz. We didn't talk about 3 variables, or we talked a little bit about combined. This could either be called combined or joint variation. There's both direct and inverse relationship. That,
Well, it's like an equal.
well, no, it just means that there's more than, when there's 3 variables, you have to have both types of variation in it. Types of variation combined. X varies inversely with y. X is 9. Y is 12. Find y when x is 6. So there's 2 pieces of information here, and then, of course, the question. What's this tell us? X varies inversely with y.
Yes.
The form there is y equals k times x or divided by x. Inversely is divided by x. So that's what that piece is telling us. X varies inversely with y. Y equals k divided by x. Next piece of information here. X is 9 when y is 12. What do we do with that? Put them in. So 12 goes in for y. 9 goes in for x. And then? Solve for k. We can multiply by 9. 12 times 9 is 108. Here the 9's cancel out, so that's k. So 108 equals k. So this relationship up here, y equals k over x, actually becomes 8 over x. Then? Oh, we've got y. What is y when x is 6? Put 6 in for x. What is 108 divided by 6? 18. Y is 18 is our answer. X varies directly. X is 8. Y is 14. Find y. X is 12. Once again, first piece of information. If x varies directly with y, what does that mean? Go up or they both go down. So the form of that is y equals k times x. When it was inversely, it was k divided by x. Directly is k times x. Then?
Okay.
14 goes in for y, 8 for x, and then? 8 gives us 1.75 equals k. This is saying that y equals kx is really y equals x.
Solving for x.
Solving for x, good. Y equals 1.75. 12. Then multiply those together to get 21. Y equals 21. Any questions there? So I think my next step is to give you guys quizzes and tests. Let you guys get started working. You can use your notes, you can use your books, you can use your calculator. You get to take them home and finish them up, bring them back tomorrow.
Load them up tomorrow, right?
What's that?
You load them up tomorrow?
Load them up?
Yeah.
So I bring them in tomorrow.
Oh, I can do that.
If you want to load them on to, load them into Blackboard, you're welcome to do it that way. Or you can
Work on this.
drop them in the classroom here and just put them on the desk up here for me. Or if you have to wait till Wednesday, I'll be in school Wednesday, if you can drop them off with me Wednesday. I need a hard copy of that quiz 211 with all the trusses on it. Everybody's good? Feel free to discuss these with your neighbors. At that point in the math curriculum where we've hit the point where I don't expect you to be able to do everything by yourself anymore. But I do expect if 2 or 3 of you get together, you can recall all the steps between you.